Alright, that would do, folks. Here, Bull Marcus 1205 numbers after the name. A little Elden Ring action over here, man. If memory serves me right, man, with this boss, it was kind of interesting because I had to like go like underground and stuff, and I realized then that there's like the overworld, like, and then there's like a whole like underworld, for lack of a better word, that kind of ties into a bunch of different spots that you could go to. And I think maybe this is one of those where I was like a little bit weaker maybe than I should have been when I was here, but it also, I don't know, I kind of just got it done, so it's whatever. You'll notice some bosses I'm like way too overpowered when I get to them, especially like later on. You'll notice when I go back to like earlier areas and I'll run into a boss, I'll be like, uh-oh, 3 hits, you're dead? So those videos are pretty kind of short. But others are just like hard as sin, and I'm like, all right, like I don't know if I should be here or not, but I'm here. Let's get it done. I was like, let me roll right through your little fire over here. You just killed everybody. Oh, that's kind of disappointing. And I'm like, well, so much for the wolves. Yeah. So I wasn't sure if I had to be here or not. It took me like a minute to even understand where I was, and honestly, it took me like significantly longer, like in the game, to fully understand that there was this whole world under the world kind of thing that had its own things. You have to, I think, trigger some like fire stuff over there, kind of like almost like a little Zelda type puzzle type thing, like trigger some like fires in different areas to like open up a path to come through over here. So all of that just seemed a little bit weird. I think there's even like some stuff that happens after you kill this guy that I'm not sure if I even ever figured out. I was like, I don't really know. I think down here also, not in this area, but somewhere similar to in this other world where you get the mimic kind of guy. 'Cause I remember just kind of going down like the mimic, the summon kind of thing that you can bring into the game. I forget the exact name for them. But instead of the wolves, you bring in like a copy of yourself. That was pretty clutch to run into that, even though that was like also just like in a very, very weird area. Like, it was just, I don't know, all this whole like underground part is really cool, but very different from the rest of the game. And I think it kind of adds a good element to the game. You know, you have kind of the whole overworld, everything, that aesthetic that's over there. But in the bottom, you could kind of mix that with something else. And I mean, just have this huge, for example, arena right here with no like mercy as to like what else is going on, what isn't going on over here with this fellow over here. Either way, though, this fight, you know, it's one of those that's hard, but it's not that hard. I kind of do well with bigger bosses here. Anything that I could kind of get like somewhere near the back of, or just kind of, you know, make like big hits over here. I have like the long like sword as well. Like I think it's just a great sword or a broadsword. I don't remember what the hell it was. I kept like kind of just a basic sword like the whole game. I upgraded the hell out of it, by the way. I think you go up to like 25, so I upgraded like all the way. But it was just a regular sword. Like, I don't know if I did put bleed damage towards the end. I did do that. Yeah, I did. You'll notice that I put bleed at a certain point. I don't remember. They like kind of changed how it was, like patch wise. Like sometimes it was good, sometimes it wasn't. I don't remember exactly when I used it. I almost want to say it wasn't as good as it was after a patch or pre-patch or something like that when I used it, but I don't fully remember. But yeah, eventually I did put bleed damage on when I kind of understood how to do that. And I kind of mentioned the Games Beaten episode at the beginning of the week as well. I'll kind of reiterate it here. There's some things that it might just be better to look up in this game just to kind of have an idea of. Because I think I didn't put like a bleed damage on because I just didn't even know like how to do it for like a long time until like I was literally just looking at a menu and I was like, hold on, if I do this, does that mean this? I was like, oh, say word. I was like, I got that over here. I don't know. I can't say it's not intuitive. I'm sure if you pay enough attention, you look at everything, you could kind of understand it. But it definitely isn't hands-holdy in any way where it's like, hey, do you want to put bleed damage on your weapons? Here's how to do it. And I think even over time, the game has gotten better at being less cryptic. But there is also a big part of the game that is just being cryptic, and people like that, and that's just a factor of it. And I think that's cool to a certain extent. I think it's cool to the map. I think it's cool to bosses. I think it's cool to, you know, anything that you kind of like encounter narratively in the game. But basic systems sometimes, when they're like hidden behind a bunch of weird stuff, I'm kind of like, I don't know if we really needed to do all that. And I'm not sure. It's up to you how much you enjoy the game, whether you want to figure that all on your own. For me, there's like a little balance over there, and I think I leaned a little more towards just doing it all myself when I probably should have looked up a couple things just to make it easier. This guy's dead.